I explore truth, keeping aside all belief systems, illusions, delusions, imaginations, hallucinations, and all the fantasies created by the human mind. Hard truth of everything is an understanding of everything. Everything means everything. The matter I am made of, the life I live, the death I fear, the consciousness which I don't understand and is a hard problem for science. The book attempts to solve this hard problem of brain, mind, consciousness connection. Hard truth of everything is not a theory with mathematical equations, but is your passport to uncover the unknown and understand the realm of science, philosophy, psychology, and even beyond. Dear human minds, Namaste. First of all, I am thankful to Saryu and Sangam for giving me this opportunity. I am J.C. Goel. I am an explorer of truth. Truth has fascinated scientists, philosophers, and critical thinkers for generations. Truth has fascinated me also. I explore truth, keeping aside all belief systems, illusions, delusions, imaginations, hallucinations, and all the fantasies created by the human mind. I hope to share this understanding with all those who are searching for the whole truth, not the partial, segmented, fragmented, twisted, skewed, or distorted truth. In a world flooded with misinformation, half-truths, sugar-coated narratives, I feel it is high time for the human mind to understand hard truth of everything. Hard truth means which is very difficult to understand. About the book, Hard Truth of Everything, it is a journey from theory of everything by most famous and prominent scientist of our time, Stephen Hawking, to hard truth of everything. Theory of everything covers only physical world and attempt to provide a unified framework that can explain and reconcile all the fundamental forces and particles in the universe. But hard truth of everything is an understanding of everything. Everything means everything. The matter I am made of, the life I live, the death I fear, the consciousness which I don't understand and is a hard problem for science. The book attempts to solve this hard problem of brain, mind, consciousness connection. Hard truth of everything is not a theory with mathematical equations, but is your passport to uncover the unknown and understand the realm of science, philosophy, psychology, and even beyond. It is a scientific endeavor to offer a unified understanding of the universe and human existence. The pointers given in the book are keys for unlocking the deepest secrets of our existence and can revolutionize the way we understand ourselves. It helps to understand how truth is intertwined with perception of reality and the human experience. It is not just an expansion to our theoretical knowledge, but it has all the practical implications to us as a human being. It has potential to change the course of human knowledge for generations to come. It is a thrilling voyage that takes one from the depth of the cosmos to the mysteries of the human mind and goes beyond to have true perception of consciousness. It confronts all beliefs, all biases, all preconceived notions, leading to deeper understanding of truth. It challenges perspective, spark curiosity, expand horizon, and leave one with many thought-provoking questions. It can be a transformative experience that will change the way we perceive and interact with the world. It is a scientific way to explain truth in simple terms, which otherwise is very difficult to understand. Whether you are a seasoned explorer of truth, a theoretical physicist, a neuroscientist, a philosopher, a scholar, a psychologist, an intellectual, or curious newcomer, or a common man, the book invites you to step into the unknown. Now, please note very carefully, we human beings live only in two dimensions. One is physical dimension and another is psychological dimension. The book covers the both and even goes beyond before entering into the unknown. Let us explore this uncharted territory together. Let our mind touch the new heights to be more enlightened individuals. Now I will talk about how this journey started. Every second, two human beings are disappearing from the earth. 1,66,324 people are dying every day as per information available on Google. One morning, it was my turn. I had a severe heart attack in the office. Luckily, I survived, but with totally different psyche. After that, I was continuously plagued by the thought of death. I survived with some serious doubts and with some troubling questions like, what will happen if I die? What dies? What survives? Why I am here? Who I am? Then I came upon the quote of Socrates, the founder of Western philosophy, and the quote, an unexamined life is not worth living. An unexamined life is not worth living. This quotation echoed in my mind for a long time, and I decided to devote rest of my life in exploring the truth and only the truth. Then I examined how my parents named me Jagdish. After that, everything happening in my life was happening in the name of Jagdish. Jagdish went to school. Jagdish graduated. Jagdish began his professional career. Jagdish became the father. Jagdish got promoted. Jagdish suffered heart attack. Jagdish survived. Anyway, my body identified as Jagdish is going to die one day. People may remember me as Jagdish for some time with plethora of images, and all these images will fade with the passage of time, and this way million and million, billion and billion people are disappearing from this earth who have ever lived here. The most critical question that kept running through my head was, who was Jagdish? And who was going to die posing as Jagdish? One thing is sure to me, that human beings wants to live forever. And this is the reason human mind has invented all the concepts of rebirth, reincarnation, and life after death. I was thinking, if I had to live or I want to live forever, then what I know about myself? Only my name, my face, my family, my friends, my profession, my feelings, my thoughts, understanding various subjects, objects, and concepts in this world. What else? I started searching for the answers. One day, I saw the book, Autobiography of a Yogi. I read it several times. This was the most favorable book of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. The only book he had on his iPod when he was dying. It was his last gift to the world. Following his death, a memorial service was held on the campus of Stanford University, and the book was gifted to 700 international celebrities who attended the ceremony. I was so impressed with the book that I studied all the literature published by the author, including The Royal Science of God Realization, a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. I also gone through the Bhagavad Gita written by various authors in different styles, with different approaches and in different flavors, such as Bhagavad Gita by Vivekananda, Bhagavad Gita by Mahatma Gandhi. Finally, I started searching the answers in the Upanishads, in the commentaries of the Sankaracharya, who has compiled and systematized all the Upanishads, in the teachings of 20th century sages like Ramana Maharshi and Nisarg Datta Maharaj. All these scriptures compelled me to believe in God, and I found myself either directed or devoted to God. Soon I realized that reading religious books and speculating about God is not exploring the truth. Believing is the simplest way to accept or reject whatever is written in the scriptures or told by religious gurus. Believing means accepting what is told is to be true, that may or may not be true. People try to defend, protect, and justify their beliefs rather than exploring the truth of those beliefs. Most of the people follow this because it is the easiest way. I have gone through the teachings of critical thinkers like Jiddha Krishnamurti. I searched philosophy and original Buddhism. I could not find the whole truth. So I was searching and trying to explore the whole truth, not the partial truth. I realized the limitations of philosophy, which is not keeping pace with the progress of science. Science requires no belief, no trust. It requires only and only understanding. So I moved from believing to knowing to understanding or exploring the truth of everything without accepting or rejecting anything. Everything means everything, and I repeat, understanding of the matter I am made of, the life I live, the death I fear, and the consciousness I don't know. With the feeling that I will know or understand consciousness only when I will die, I realized that death cannot be understood without understanding the life. And the life cannot be understood without understanding the matter, the creation, the universe, and the cosmos. I started with well-known truths, moving towards the lesser-known truths before finally entering into the unknown. Well-known truth means all the truths discovered through scientific advancement. It is about the nature of reality we live in, understanding the creation of this universe from the Big Bang, appearance of life on Earth, increasing complexity from single cell to multicellular organism, and very complex species like human beings. Understanding the DNA that is evolving and creating more and more complex species, I started immersing myself in understanding science from classical physics to the latest advancement in quantum mechanics. Cosmology to determine where I am in the universe. Chemistry that is creating the life. Evolutionary biology that is generating the diversities of lives. Neuroscience to understand the complex human brain. I was trying to understand how the matter, space, time emerged in a fraction of a second from the Big Bang and the universe appeared. How the space expanded, how the stars appeared, how the dying star formed all the elements we have in our periodic table, how the chemical processes produced the first life under the sea and then on the earth, how evolving DNA has produced billions of species, including the human being with most complex organ, the human brain. Now I move to lesser known truths. Actually, my research begins from here. For the second dimension, which is psychological dimension, as earlier I told you that we human beings live in two dimensions. One is physical and another is psychological. Psychological world means nothing but my inner self. Understanding the truth about the creation of mind in the brain cells. How the software, which is mind, working in the hardware of our brain cells. Understanding how the mind is getting updated from moment to moment in the brain cells and the emergence of thought, which is the basic unit of human psychology. I was searching how much mind is there in the neural pathways at the time of the birth and how much is getting uploaded during the lifetime through senses, thinking and experiences. For observing all that, I had only one and only one instrument, and that was my mind only, to observe the creation of everything in the mind and the mind itself. Soon I started focusing on unfolding layers after layers of my mind and observing its contents one by one. I tried to understand how the mind is built of a combination of perceptions, experiences and informations. How downward integration is happening all the time. How stimulating is the software that both updates and creates the mind. How is the mind formed and programmed? I came to the conclusion that hard truth is I am a biologically and psychologically programmed human being. I realized that contents in my mind are active only when I am conscious. When I am not conscious, particularly in deep sleep, I don't know who I am, where I am, and where this world is. The next biggest question and challenge before me was to have perception of consciousness. For that, I have gone through various types of meditations available in the market. The initial step in all these meditation practices is to practically calm down the body, and then the second step is to still the mind. The basic goal of all these meditations is to control thoughts. For this, they recommend getting into certain postures, breathing in a certain way, concentrating on a single point or object, chanting a prayer or repeating a mantra over and over again. They insist on concentration, practice, and control. After some time, I realized that these meditations were not doing anything miraculous for me. Adopting a certain sitting posture increases blood flow to the brain. Deep breathing results in increased oxygen intake only. These meditative states were certainly soothing but were very fleeting. I also experienced several visions while engaging in these meditations. However, I later realized that all those experiences were the result of imagination or information already planted by many gurus or their followers. I also realized that spiritual visions promoted by many gurus are nothing more than the mental projections. They do this through various techniques, and we end up seeing exactly what they want us to see because of their persuasive abilities. Repetition of a phrase or mantra is shown to have a calm or soothing effect on mind and to evoke a spectrum of feelings. But the words are nothing more than the words. Words are empty. The word God is not God. The word love is not loving. Furthermore, it is observed that constant repetition of words dulls the mind, destroys the sensitive responses, and puts a stop to further investigation into the truth. In the majority of the meditations, all the perspectives were external. The focus was solely on calming the conscious mind, and the inner processes of working of the mind were completely ignored. So, the benefits gained from all these meditation practices were transitory only. Meditation is of marginal value if life is not free from anger, jealousy, envy, greed, anxiety, and hatred. Meditation without the foundation of righteous behavior is only a form of self-hypnosis. It is also observed that thought cannot be controlled, and the only way to control the thought is understanding the thought. I focused on slowing down the process of thinking, observing thought, and tracking the movement of thought. It helped me in understanding the role of thought in all my pleasures, pain, suffering, feelings, and emotions. Through close observation of thought, I was able to understand various aspects of thoughts. I tried to understand how do the sensory impulses produce impressions or images in the brain. How does thought interpret an image and creates further image resulting into imagination? How does thought move in the psychological space and create time? How does a thought, which is a material process in the brain cells, produce everything in psychological space, me, myself, and others? How does thought produce both wonderful and dreadful things in our lives? How has thought created our social, economic, political, and religious systems? How does the thought conceptualize us as Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and Buddhists? How has the thought of money, more names, more fames, more power, more satisfaction, and more lust translates into more human sufferings? How does thought of domination of others lead to wars that have killed and continue to kill millions and millions of people? How do thought of fear or greed lead to the generation of concept of God to provide a psychological security and satisfy our unfulfilled desires. What role does play in the creation of pleasure, pain, grief, hope, expectation and belief? What exactly is a thought? Is thought a living thing? Finally, I was able to understand and decode the thought, its contents, its nature, its network, and its movement, creating the psychological space which simultaneously create the psychological time, the past, the present, and the future. The phenomena of thinking is creating both the thinker, the subject, and the thought, which is always about an object. Just think over it. Can thinker, the subject, exist in the absence of thinking? Can thought, the object, exist in the absence of a thinker? Hard to realize is that thinking, thought, and thinker are one, manifesting in the field of consciousness. Next come the whole understanding of what my inner self is made of. I examined how I have made myself as I am. How is the sense of self is created? How the thinking, which is a phenomena like senses, other senses, is creating both the thinker and thought. How the thinking creates the space between thinker and thought. How psychological time is created because thought needs time for its movement in the psychological space. The book covers all the dimensions of my inner world. Hard truth is that I am hardwired genetically and psychologically. And the next milestone in this journey was understanding what my outer world is made of, because it is impossible to separate outer world from the inner world and the inner world from the outer world. What is the link between the inner world and the outer world? The link is a hard problem of consciousness which scientists are working on. What role the observation play in shaping our reality? We need to understand the truth revealed by the advancement in the quantum mechanics, which is mainly focused on the role of consciousness in creating the reality we live in. How everything is appearing, disappearing, and reappearing in the quantum field. Do living things and non-living things follow different laws of nature? This is the biggest and most important question. Now, the book explains what actually the consciousness, the mysterious consciousness is. After a long struggle and after dropping the mind, which is the basic requirement to have the perception of consciousness, the following points are summarized for understanding only. First is the consciousness is just beingness. Consciousness is not I amness or mindness, which is nothing but my mind only. Consciousness is still there when my mind is not operating at all in deep sleep. Anybody can observe it. My mind is made up of all my past experiences, upbringings, patterns, habits, feelings, intentions, greed, fear, pride, aspirations, and thoughts, and all the psychological positions I have. Although I own my mind I do not own consciousness which is beyond the mind. Consciousness is more like an infinite space, a screen or a phenomena in which brain works and creates the mind. Consciousness is like a quantum field, a gravitational field, or an electromagnetic field, a fully active dynamic field that influences all the forms of life and their surroundings. It is the vacuum, nothingness, or emptiness postulated by the great Buddhist scholar Nagarjuna. It is extremely subtle, exists outside of matter, space, and time. It is also possible that this field predates the Big Bang. Sometimes question arises, what was before the Big Bang? So it seems that this is the field from which the Big Bang has sprung. Since consciousness is not a memory, a piece of information or a thought, the only way to connect with it is to quiet the mind first. The mind must have immense space or openness, free of fragmentations, conflict, and confusion. There must be a boundless space that is free of me, my ego, or the self. It must be as clear as glass, allowing one to see things as they are without any reflection, or distortion. Only when mind is free of all conditioning, particularly the religious conditioning, it is possible only then to have a true perception of consciousness. There should be no excitement, no sadness, no emotion, no passion, no use of imagination, but there should be a sense of wholeness, depth, quality, vitality, and harmony with what is, as opposed to what should be, which creates conflict in the mind. Then and only then one sees the whole truth of what is. For this, one needs a serious interest in learning about oneself, a considerable drive and energy flow to delve deep into the study of consciousness. There needs to be a strong feeling of energy that has no goal or cause, and that should be extremely, extremely silent. It is possible to go deep into the interior of the mind and find out what has been stored there for millions of years through the evolving DNA. We don't have any other way to understand, realize, define, characterize, quantify, or measure consciousness. This is the only way. Normal human beings are incapable of achieving this stage simply because they are unable to stop thinking, hold a wide range of beliefs, are insatiably in search of pleasures, and end up consuming a significant amount of energy by engaging in constant conflict with themselves or other people. Once the contents of the mind have been removed or neutralized, only then will one have access to the entire stream of consciousness or pure awareness which exists outside their mental sphere. There is nothing religious or mysterious about this. Please note, there is nothing religious or mysterious about this. Anyone following this process by dropping the mind can have true perception of consciousness. After understanding the consciousness, book discusses three important questions: what dies, what survives, and why I am here. Do I have an everlasting soul? Do only human beings have soul? Do we have heaven or hell? Do we have rebirth? These questions are dealt in detail to understand the truth of all these concepts created by the human mind. To summarize, there is a chapter, what is the whole truth? Because truth has many sides, so it is very critical to understand the whole truth from every angle and every side, covering 360 degrees, missing nothing. It explains and summarizes how the universe came into being from nothing at the time of Big Bang, how the process of becoming has begun. The most important point is becoming. How is everything becoming since then? The process of becoming changes one form into another. Matter is becoming through chemical reactions. Atoms are decaying and becoming. Cells are becoming to create or sustain life. DNA is becoming and evolving. I am not different from this universe, which is becoming all the time. The universe is becoming and expanding. How hard truth is that all are becoming and everything is becoming in this universe. Finally, understanding the unknown. Unknown, which is giving birth to the known while remaining unknown. Unknown means the source of this whole creation. Through book tries to describe the unknown, but it is only description, not the unknown. Please note, the unknown is imperceptible, incomprehensible, inconceivable, unimaginable, and undefinable for a human mind. So, unknown will remains unknown forever. However, for understanding, 7 levels have been described in the book. First is the mindness, second is the I amness, and third is the beingness, and fourth is the consciousness in motion. Fifth is the consciousness at rest, which is pure awareness, and sixth is the nothingness, emptiness, as postulated by Nagarjuna, and seventh is the absoluteness, the ultimate, which is the unknown. Just think over it, mindness is not possible without I amness. I am is not possible without beingness. Beingness is not possible without consciousness, and consciousness is not possible without awareness, because we are always aware of, conscious of something. As we became aware, conscious of something, consciousness appears in the awareness. So, the last chapter is moving into the unknown. How we can move from known to the unknown. It discusses how one can enter the unknown and achieve the ultimate peace or happiness or live a life of fullness after understanding the whole truth. And for this, no devotion, no action or no follow-up is required, because understanding is all. Understanding is an action in itself. To summarize, we have to understand the whole truth, the whole perspective. There are truths discovered by science which we cannot ignore. There are hidden truths in the Upanishads, though they are full of imaginations, manipulations, and even contradictions. There are also truths concealed in the original Buddhism, not in the later version propagated by various scholars and monks. The contents of the book are only pointers or milestones for exploring the whole truth. The journey starts with you and the psychological world within yourself. One has to travel alone. I have traveled all the way 4 years to understand myself, spent thousands of nights to observe and understand the inner working of myself. Never thought to write a book, but later It seems that book wants to write itself when I realized the contribution of all the books, all the authors I have read for this understanding.